A very good morning. Your USD has started to retrace back up higher after the dollar index grabbed liquidity on the higher time frame. Now, as we've been mentioning for quite some time, everything underneath the overall liquidity low that we had positioned right over here, which was the final, let's say, low within the overall bullish market swing structure, has the potential to push the market up higher. However, this for me is still just a temporary push up higher, as the overall direct order flow here on the daily time frame remains bearish. So we're still looking and favoring further short positions, but this is the so-called reaccumulation phase, where we are simply looking for a connection back in towards the overall daily buy up for the strong sell down, which on the 4-hour time frame is going to be your overall swing structure. Now, the aim of the game, guys, that I have again is very simple. Every single time on the daily time frame you identify the order flow, which is the gray box, what you're simply looking for is for price to retrace into that gray box and then retrace into, for example, the 4-hour premium versus discount line, which is the overall blue line. And then within the overall impulse in towards the downside, you then identify liquidity, wait for that liquidity to get taken, and then most likely the price will continue to drop. It happened the first time over there, but it also happened the second time. We had this as a swing high, this is a swing low. This was the overall market swing structure. Price retraced into the 0.5 fib, the blue line, took out liquidity here, and then after connecting as well with the free monthly open, price then dropped back in towards downside. So all we're this time simply doing is once again identifying the overall impulse in towards the downside from the overall swing towards the overall swing low. Whereas in the liquidity lies, for example, here, or for example here on top, and all I'm simply doing is just waiting for price to reach those levels and then continue further in towards the downside. Now, important to note down is that price does not always need to retrace that deep. It's not like price needs to retrace back up towards this high over here or towards 0.5 fib. That is obviously preferable. What could also happen is that the market just retraces into, for example, this high over here, which aligns beautifully with the monthly and the weekly open. Once price takes that out, it then already starts dumping down lower without ever retracing into 0.5 fib. So for your USD, I have 3 levels where I'm looking for the overall continuation trade. That is level number 1 here on the weekly / monthly open. That is level number 2, which aligns beautifully with the 0.5 fib. And is level number 3, which is pretty much your highest overall liquidity high. If price retraces into one of those 3 highs, that is when I'll be looking for a short upon price giving me confirmation. Now, the only moment in which I'm going to be looking for a further long position is if the overall daily order flow shifts. Now, when would the overall daily order flow shift? Well, it would mean that this buy before the sell here would break together with the free monthly line. So for longs on your USD, you would need to wait for this, then the retracement, and then the overall next long back in towards the highs. Now, you might be wondering, but Fabio, why are we not already, for example, in a long? We took out liquidity and the overall market structure here is bullish on the daily time frame on your USD. Yes, this is something that you can do, because in these kind of situations for swing market structure, you could say simply, hey, I place my stop loss underneath the overall swing and I target the overall high for a beautiful nearly 1 to 3 risk to reward. As we're trading a discount, we liquidated the final emboss low and I'm now looking for the next long in towards the upside. Now, this is perfectly fine. However, with the current market structure that we're seeing, where the bearish daily order flow is holding as strong as it has, we have the weekly, the monthly, we have the free monthly open levels. I'm still favoring a further downside push, together also with what I'm seeing on the dollar index. Now, when I go to the dollar index, I see that the market is extremely bullish. What we had was throughout the entirety of the year, due to those political uncertainty within the United States surrounding tariffs and obviously the Trump and Jerome Powell kind of feud let's say political war or whatever you want to call it, we saw that dollar index dumped crazy in towards the downside, right? Throughout the year, we've seen a dump of, what was it, around 12 to 13%. Now, when we had the impulsive phase in towards the downside, we then saw that the market started to form some descending corrective price action. And the descending corrective price action is a sign that the market is then ready to reverse back in towards the highs, especially when we see something called pattern completion. Now, I don't trade patterns really, but on the higher time frame, it does tend to work really, really well. And the perfect reversal pattern is the 1, 2, 3, where you see a 1, 2, and then boom, push in towards the highs. So we see the 1 low, we see the 2nd low, and then what you need for the reversal back up is either the 3rd trendline touch or a fake out on the 2nd low with a V-shaped reversal. That is then your confirmation that the market is extremely likely going to retrace at least back up to the very first high of the overall, let's say, descending pattern, okay? And the same counts for when you have, let's say, ascending and then you see the overall correction in towards the downside. Again, what you're targeting is always pretty much the very first low. And a perfect example of this was on GBPUSD, where you had, for example, here, the 1, 2, 3 in towards the highs, where we saw the one high, the second high, and the third trailing touch, and then the overall deeper pushes in towards the downside. So what I'm looking for ultimately is just the same on the dollar index to happen, and for the dollar index to continue pushing up in towards, let's say, the very first high, which is this high over here. So still looking for the further upside continuation, and that overall confirms kind of like my bias that I have there for EURUSD to keep on looking for further downside. Now, if you are looking to trade the overall pullback on EURUSD, keep an eye on the 4-hour time frame. Obviously, for now, the 4-hour demand zone here is in control, and we've seen a let's say change of character here. So change of character low break, change of character high break. So if you are looking for longs, this is then a potential short-term long that you could take back up towards the overall liquidity high. Keep an eye on the 15-minute time frame. That would be the only kind of time frame where you could take a potential position on. It's not really a position that I'm looking to take myself, as I really want to just focus on trend or trading a pro order flow, pro trend. So yeah, that's why I'm not going to be taking that setup. I'll just be waiting for the higher prices to come to me. Now on the dollar index, we've started to see a slow but surely a retracement after taking out that 1st of August high, which was the NFP high of the 1st of August. So there's always liquidity resting above kind of like those news highs. Now, a retracement is perfectly normal. We've been talking about this for quite some time now. So where are we looking to retrace towards? Well, preferably in towards daily order flow. So what is your daily order flow? Your daily order flow is very simply said, the overall daily sell down before the buy up. So this kind of like zone over here, this green zone. And preferably would see a retracement in towards there before looking for the next leg up. Now looking at the 4-hour time frame, again you can see that we're currently trading in the amber zone, so not really looking to take any new dollar positions. And preferably, where would we retrace towards? Well, we would preferably retrace towards, for example, this demand zone over here, where above we have beautiful ascending lows. So what I'm kind of like looking for is for the market to retrace a little bit deeper, and then from there continue pushing up higher. But the market could also, for example, already start pushing up higher from these equal lows together with the weekly and the monthly open. So it's all going to be dependent on how the market reacts to those levels, and that's where I'm going to be keeping an eye out to see, hey, how does the 4-hour react to those liquidity lows, and then from there we can look for potential further upside pushes. I just want to show you guys again what we've been seeing here on the monthly time frame, where we're in a clear uptrend on the dollar index, and I don't really use trend lines unless it's on the, let's say, monthly or the weekly. So what we have here is the first trend line touch, the second one, and now we're at the third one, together with a monthly demand zone and bullish market structure on the dollar. So I'm looking for the next rally in towards the upside throughout 2026 / for the next few months on the dollar index further in towards the highs. So I'll be monitoring what happens there on the monthly and the weekly. Based on the monthly, yeah, I definitely do see higher prices. So let's keep an eye on that. And yeah, we'll just use the daily to trade pro order flow for now. And yeah, that's what I just explained. Shows me that the dollar index wants to head up higher. Moving into GBPUSD. GU obviously retracing a little bit now as we're in the orange zone, perfectly normal. All I'm simply waiting for is again for price to retrace, reaccumulate, and then we'll look for further shorts back in towards the downside. Yeah, I'm not trading the overall pullback just because again I don't see any clear areas of demand to our left, right? So if we look here, I don't see any clear demand zone that I would really love to trade from, no clear liquidity low as well. So I'm just waiting to see what price does, give us some higher prices, and then from there look for some shorts once again. Looking at the daily time frame, obviously the ideal kind of like short position will be taken from this X over here, and this is kind of like the overall swing structure that you have. So yeah, the ideal short will come from these higher prices, but let's see if price wants to retrace that high. Also, we'll have to keep an eye on the November budget of the United Kingdom. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's around the 25th of November of this month. That's when a lot of tax kind of like increases are going to be announced, which could further weaken the pound. However, I do assume that a lot is already being priced into the market, hence the stronger GU dump that we've been seeing over the past few weeks. This has to do with those November tax hikes. So keep an eye on that and read about it if you're interested. For the rest, what I'm looking for here on GBPUSD is for us just to take out some liquidity again. So that would be, for example, this liquidity high over here, this liquidity high over here. Waiting just for highs to get taken and for a new overall downtrend to start forming. as yeah, we've had a massive impulsive phase. I'm just waiting for us to come back in towards the overall. Yes, buy before the sell, which is this overall buy up for the sell down. Wait for us to come back in, and then from there we can look for shorts again. So nothing really at the moment. Now for GBPUSD, going into AUDUSD. AUDUSD should be pushing up higher, and slowly but surely it is. So as you can see here on the daily time frame, the daily time frame is bullish. Swing low, swing high. The market has retraced in towards discount pricing, and this is pretty much the only bullish dollar pair at the moment, in the sense that of Aussie dollar, NZD dollar, pound dollar, and euro dollar that I really like, in the sense that, okay, all of these ascending lows have now been taken. We took out the final liquidity low. We formed an area of consolidation here, which is your demand zone. Extend that to the right, and it has potential to push the market up higher again. Look at the 4-hour time frame, and on the 4-hour time frame, we took out some liquidity lows over here. It's given us a 4-hour change of character, so there is potential for this to push up higher. However, we have a very strong supply zone here, which took out this high over here. So this buy before the sell is, again, a very strong supply zone together with the monthly and the weekly open. So it's not really a long that I'm looking to take, also just because I'm still very bullish on the dollar, and therefore I would preferably see AUDUSD head down quite lower, actually. But AUDUSD is therefore not the best expression, so you could potentially trade a long on AUDUSD to hedge the other positions. But I would prefer to trade an NZDUSD. So an NZDUSD has been extremely bearish in towards the downside, as we can see, for a massive amount of time. The green zone is your impulsive phase. The orange zone is the pullback phase. So I'm assuming that we're currently trading within the overall pullback phase. What I'm looking for in NZDUSD is for us to retrace a little bit higher towards that monthly and weekly open. And then from there, I'll be happy to look for a short again. Yeah, what can I say? That it would align beautifully with the overall 0.5 fib as well. So I'm just looking for a higher retracement at the moment. Not trading the overall, let's say, pullback, just because, yeah, why would I? I want to be in the overall green zone. I want to be in those impulsive phases. So I'm just waiting for the market to reaccumulate before getting into any positions. If I'm very honest on NZDUSD, there was some New Zealand dollar news last night. I have to read about it still. I'll drop an update on that inside Discord. So that's what I'm looking for in NZDUSD, just higher prices before looking to get into another short. If the market already starts to sell off, then we're just building internal liquidity, which we could use in the future to then look for shorts again. The only long that I would be looking to take would be from the yearly open. So let's say price does start dropping now, then I would be happy, because this for me is not a big enough of a pullback. It's just internal liquidity creation. So then I would be looking to long from the yearly open back up towards, for example, that liquidity high. So that's a trade I see there on USD or on NZDUSD. Now USDCAD, I'm looking still for the retracement deeper to then look for new longs. Daily time frame is in a bullish phase. United States still imposed tariffs on Canada, so Canada is suffering from that. Furthermore, if I'm not mistaken, oil prices have been dropping a little bit. Let's keep an eye on that, because lower oil prices often mean that the Canadian dollar also weakens. What I'm looking for at the moment is, very simply said, after we took out the overall internal liquidity underneath this low here, and we rejected the free monthly open, we saw an aggressive reaction towards the upside, showing me that bulls are in control. This is the overall demand zone. Within that demand zone on the daily, we then look, okay, where do we have the 4-hour liquidity? Because this is the overall impulse in towards the highs. We have liquidity resting underneath this low here, this low here, this low here. So ultimately, I'm just waiting for lows to get taken before looking for new longs, and then I'll just look for a change of character to get into a new long position. Obviously, we called the longs in towards the highs, so now we're just waiting. And again, the overall setup that you're looking for is, hey, here's the overall impulse in towards the highs. Then within the overall impulse, what are the liquidity lows? Well, this one was a major liquidity low that was also visible on the daily time frame as the beginning of the overall ascending trend line. So then what I just wait for is price to come in towards there, give me the 4-hour change of character, and then it aligned beautifully with the free monthly open, and therefore it was a no-brainer long position to take with a stop loss here and targeting a new higher high. So a beautiful position there. I'm now just waiting for the exact same thing pretty much to happen. And then we have USDJPY. So for USDJPY, I'm looking still for further upside. I took a little long yesterday. I've closed it again at break even. I was looking to capitalize on the 4-hour fractal structure shift, but I don't like where the dollar is at the moment, hence why I'm being a little bit cautious with USDJPY. And preferably I would still see lower pricing and price retrace towards these equal lows here. Overall, what I see here on USDJPY, and let me just zoom out a little bit to the daily, is that we are in a clear uptrend on the daily, right? With the immediate market structure that we have. So I'm just following the immediate market structure. If I look left, where the price is reacting to, there's no supply zone. We have descending highs here. So I'm looking for us to take out the high itself, this high, or this high. Right, so we have 3 main liquidity highs, these ones over here. So I'm looking for price at least to go in towards there before seeing an overall maybe bigger sell of what could potentially be. And this could also happen to be related to the Japanese central bank intervention, where they manage the currency and start talking about increasing interest rates, which will appreciate the yen and cause USD yen to potentially drop. But that is not yet the case. So what I see here on USDJPY is obviously a clear uptrend, with the green phases being the impulse, the orange phase being the pullback. And now what I'm looking for is just for the overall pullback to be over. Now, the market obviously would preferably retrace towards 0.5 fib over here. Doesn't always need to happen. When does it not happen? When, for example, we make a connection with a daily demand zone or 4-hour demand zone, and then we see the change of character bullish. So the change of character is still bullish. I'm not taking a short because the 4-hour market structure is still bullish. And it still has potential to push up higher, but just keep in mind that the dollar is in an extremely risky spot at the moment. I am still favoring another push up from here, but if we do start to sell off, then I'll be looking for new longs from there. So these are kind of like the two options that you have for potential longs. If you do want to take longs, maybe focus on 15-minute trades at the moment. And for the rest, it still looks good for the upside to take out that daily liquidity that I've just mentioned. But just wait for a little bit more confirmation potentially. So if you look at the 15-minute time frame, we're now seeing a retracement down lower. What you could look at is, for example, for this internal trend to start shifting. So break above these highs, retest, and then you could look for a long over here. That would be a very nice long to potentially take. So keep your eyes on that, and otherwise just let it drop down lower and look for longs from the equal lows over here. Then we have USDCHF. Not really a pair of interest at the moment. It's already made its move over the recent times. Still looking for it to push up higher, but the reaccumulation on the dollar index could cause some temporary downside, but overall still looking for further upside. And then we have, of course, gold. So gold has started to push up higher, and I'm still looking for further longs on gold. Yeah, what can I say? Once we break the market structure here, that's the moment that I'm really going to start looking for more upside. So keep an eye on that for now. After taking out these liquidity lows, I'm looking for the next push up on gold, and I'll be following the overall lower time frame and the overall 4-hour time frame. To be honest, gold is not the cleanest, still quite stuck, hence why I'm just waiting for the breakout, the retest, and then the continuation trade. Yeah, mainly focusing on, for example, an NZDUSD or a USDJPY. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. My apologies, I'm still very sick. Hope to be better next week. Thanks. Bye.